that just because I don't do the same thing that everyone else does, it doesn't mean that it's not perfect.
My name is Merrill Dubrow, CEO of Mark Research. I'm a 35-year veteran of the research and insights community and the host of our podcast, On the Mark. On the Mark is focusing on executives and thought leaders in the world sharing their insights, strategies, and personal experiences, all of which is unscripted and unrehearsed. I promise this podcast will be filled with tough, pointed questions with real, insightful, and emotional answers. Today's guest is Jenn Vogel, Vice President of Marketing at Voxpopme. Jen, welcome to the On the Mark podcast.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
All right, Jen. And then listen, I know you go by JV. Your business nickname is JV, so I'm going to probably call you JV, Jen, whatever I think of, I guess. But let's give the listeners an overview of your career. Would you just give us just talk a little bit about your career in the insights industry, how you came into it and all that?
I had my first role in the insights industry starting in 2010 when I joined Toluna and previously was working for a brand on the sort of B2C side of things. And so this was my first B2B marketing role, my first role in the insights industry. I worked at Toluna for about 8 years before joining Voxpopme just a little more than 2 years ago.
That's great. Expand on your current position a little bit, if you would.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm the VP of marketing at Voxpopme, and so I'm responsible for the marketing strategy for the company and kind of working with my team to execute on our brand strategy, our demand gen strategy, our growth strategy from a marketing perspective. I have an amazing team. We do a lot of really fun, cool stuff. So yeah, it's been a great journey. In my career, my first role was at a much larger company and then kind of moved to sort of mid-size at Toluna to a very small startup environment with Voxpopme. And so it's been a lot of fun.
That's great. So there you are in high school, you graduate, you get the big party, you throw your hat, you do all that fun stuff. Did you, when you were going to college, did you know you always wanted to be in the research industry?
No, I had no idea. And in fact, I didn't even know I wanted to be in marketing at that time.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I went to college. My goal was to be a lawyer. I wanted to be an attorney. And I was in college for a couple of years and didn't work out so great for me. So I left college after my sophomore year. In that time, got my first job working for Sotheby's, which is a funny story how I got that job. I don't know if we have time for that story, but
no, we have time. Tell me.
So, I had left college. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was very clear to me I didn't want to be an attorney any longer. I had been studying communications and I just needed a job. And I knew someone who was working for Sotheby's and in Greenwich, Connecticut, very high-end area of the world. And she knew of an agent who needed a personal assistant. And so I went to kind of interview with this guy and I really liked him. He really liked me. I interviewed with his wife, who was an interior designer, and I was going to be their personal assistant. Everything was ready to go, hired. Here's your first day to start. And I showed up and they weren't there. And I just kept showing up to the office and they never really showed up. And the people in the office kind of saw me, the corporate company saw me and offered me a job being a marketing assistant.
Wait a minute. So when you say they never showed up, was it a scam? Did they run away to a different country?
No, I ended up seeing them eventually, but they were just kind of, in sort of that industry and real estate and design. They're all seeing clients. They're not in the office all the time. And
got it.
I just kept showing up thinking I had a job and I kind of didn't. But I just kept showing up and persevering. And the corporate company took notice and offered me a job as a marketing assistant. And I had no idea what marketing was or what I would be doing. And I fell in love with it. And that really helped me to then when I made the decision to go back to college and get a degree, refocus my degree on marketing.
So let's talk about that for a second, because that is fascinating. And if you had asked me, Merrill, what are you most proud of in your career? I actually would say to you, it's going to college and graduating in 4 years, not 4.5, not 7. I didn't drop out because I had a time in high school, and I didn't think I would gravitate towards having a really good, solid college experience, but I did, probably because of my roommates and the friends that I made, and I just came into myself. And I guess my question for you is, there you are, you graduate high school, you want to be a lawyer, you go to a good school, you're in communications, it's your sophomore year, and you wake up and, I don't really want to do that. That had to be hard because on yourself, maybe your friends, your college friends, and obviously your family. Just take us through that, because that had to be kind of challenging for you.
It was a very difficult decision to make at the time. I was going through some stuff personally, and college was not working out for me. And the thought of not going back to school in the fall when I left, I left at the end of my sophomore year, like home for the summer, fully expecting I was going back in the fall. For that to all sort of change over the summer was a really difficult decision. And it came with a lot of shame, because I thought what was expected of me was to, graduate high school, go to college for 4 years, get a job. That's the thing that everybody did. So to do something that didn't fit the mold of the standard was very scary. And I felt a lot of shame about it for many years to come, actually. And even when I had ultimately finished school and graduated, I was still filled with a lot of shame. And, I didn't want to walk in my graduation. I didn't want to acknowledge it. And even in the years beyond that, in my career, I don't really talk about it. I've never really addressed it with anyone. I don't mention that it took me what it did to ultimately graduate, because I thought it was something to be ashamed of and not something to be proud of. And that's kind of changed with maybe a bit of maturity, is recognizing that taking a different path doesn't have to be shameful. But I'm a perfectionist. I want to do everything perfect, and letting go of that a little bit and realizing that just because I don't do the same thing that everyone else does, it doesn't mean that it's not perfect.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. And first of all, I want to applaud you seriously for talking about that. I know we talked about being unscripted and unrehearsed. And you talked about being shamed and a few other things. Was that shame from your friends, your family, your internal being? Is the answer yes?
Yeah, I think it was mostly from my internal being. My family was like super supportive and, really stood behind me in whatever I wanted to do and supported me. And, and my friends, I think it didn't necessarily come from them, but there was a ton of fear of missing out. There was a lot of stuff I didn't get to do because I left and I got a full-time job and went to school at night. And, I didn't get to study abroad like a lot of people did. And that was a big regret. And I felt like leaving meant that I couldn't handle it, or I wasn't as smart as everyone else or as capable as everyone else. But that wasn't really the case. That was my own perfectionism kind of coming out. And I think the shame mostly came from within.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. So, all right, we're going to switch gears. First of all, I want to thank you for talking about that, because I think there's a lot of listeners who think that, and I was actually brainwashed, sorry, Mom, but I was, because it was like, okay, you graduated high school, you got a job in the summer, you went to college, you graduated 4 years, you got a job, you moved out, you paid rent, you know what I mean? You bought a house. I was brainwashed. And, I think there's a lot of takeaways for some of the listeners who have kids or are going through this themselves. So I thank you for that. Yeah. But listen, we're going to stay with the perfectionist, okay? Your word, not mine, but I'll repeat it. And you and Zappy, Voxpopme and Zappy had a virtual summit, which was pretty darn successful, maybe 3 weeks ago, if I have that right.
Yeah, almost a month ago now.
All right, well, great. So let's talk about that, Miss Perfectionist. Let's go with the negative. Let's go with, hey, Merrill, the next time we do this, we're going to do blank, blank, and blank. Give me a few things that you would do a little different.
That's a really good question, because I think at the end of all of it, I was so happy with the way everything turned out and really impressed by the way the two teams came together and created something pretty incredible. It was an amazing experience. I think, we did do a survey after to get people's feedback on how the event was. It was overwhelmingly positive. I think there were some learnings from there that maybe we could do a bit differently about, giving people a little bit of a break in between some of the sessions, or even just reminding people like, hey, you're not on video, you're muted, you can walk around, you don't have to be chained to your desk, like have some freedom with it. But, those are like pretty minor things. I really was thrilled with how the event turned out, and the feedback that we were getting from the attendees and the value that they got out of all the sessions. It was incredible. I think next time, if we were to do it again, it'll be nice to maybe give ourselves a bit more time. We really kind of threw it together in a very short amount of time, which was necessary. But that did create a lot of stress. So, now we have an opportunity to potentially do this again with more time and also all the learnings that we had from the previous event.
That's great. So pick a number, 2, 3, or 4.
Oh, 3.
3. I love that. It's one of my favorite numbers. 3. Great. The virtual summit, I'm sure that there are a number of listeners who have had strategies to put on a virtual summit within their company and maybe even partner with somebody. So 3, give me 3 of Jen's best practices to anybody who is out there thinking about putting on a virtual summit for their clients, for prospects, for the industry. Just 3 best practices that they could have as takeaways.
Probably one thing is to really focus on the content. You can put on the best event in the world from an operational perspective, and if you don't have good content, then it's not going to provide any value. I think that has to be the primary, and for us, it was really important to have a mix of really powerful content with some brain breaks and some mindfulness and meditation and things that made it feel not like a series of webinars. I think the program planning is the key to a successful event. I would say one other thing would be to really make sure that you have your technology locked in as well as you can. We had a great team behind the scenes who were handling any potential technical difficulties that might come up. Did it really flawlessly. I got a lot of feedback during the event, like, this has gone off without a hitch, and, this is flawless. And I'm like, you have no idea what's going on in the background.
But that's the best. And that happens whether it's at a wedding or a sweet 16 or anything. That's the best when there's so much planning, but nobody, and only a couple people know that there was a few things that went awry. That's great. Congratulations. All right, one more. So focus on content, technology locked in. What's the third?
Yeah, so I think the third, and this was a big learning for me in planning this, was to make sure you really, kind of lock people in with enough notice. So, we had the promotion schedule. We had weeks of promoting and getting people to register, and that was all great. And one of the things I was doing, and some of the others were doing as well, was, signing up for other virtual events so we could learn from what they were doing, which was, positive, negative, whatever. And what I learned from that experience, I didn't attend one of the virtual events that I registered for, not one, because it wasn't on my calendar. And there were a couple cases where maybe I had the whole day blocked off for that virtual event. But if I didn't have like individual sessions throughout the day blocked on my calendar, like, we live and die by our calendars these days, at least I do. And if I get to that day and my calendar's booked up, then there's no way I'm going to attend a webinar I signed up for or a virtual event I signed up for, especially one that is, 13 hours straight for 2 days straight. We gave people the opportunity to pick and choose their sessions and add those individual sessions to their calendars. And I think that had a big impact on the attendance rate, which, then is a ripple effect of, we've got all these great people on the line who are so excited about these individual sessions. And then there was the engagement in the chat and people kind of sticking around for longer than they planned to. But yeah, that was a big learning for me, was signing up for these events and I just didn't show up because they weren't on my calendar. So that was I think a really key piece of the success of that event.
That's great. All right, switching gears. Did you give I think your dog misses mommy.
I know. Who knows what's happening outside?
No, that's okay. That's okay. So listen, you're in charge of marketing for Voxpopme. Obviously, we're in the middle of COVID-19. Hopefully this phase of it is behind us. But look, we both know that you're meticulous, your word, that you're a perfectionist. And I know that last October of 2019, you had planned every single one of your marketing dollars for 2020. Well, life has changed a little bit, young lady. You're not.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. You're not probably. You probably got a few extra marketing dollars because Dave and your team and you and a number of the other players aren't traveling to conferences. So, how have you repurposed your marketing dollars with no in-person conferences, probably in the foreseeable future?
Yeah, so I think that's an interesting question because we've really had to get pretty scrappy. Because as much as we're not going to these in-person conferences, in a lot of cases, we've already committed to them or even paid for them. So this idea that we could repurpose event dollars into other areas is not always true. There were a few cases where we were planning to do conferences, and certainly the travel costs we've recouped. But, it wasn't just, oh, well, we're not doing that conference, so we spend that budget elsewhere, because in some cases we had already spent it. So I think it's been really about changing our strategy and getting pretty scrappy with the budget dollars that we do have, and making some decisions on where we could have the most impact, and also kind of reevaluating our goals, right? Because I think there was a period of time, and I think this has changed a little bit, but certainly in the beginning of all of this, when we were seeing everyone experiencing the first, say, month of lockdown and a lot of uncertainty in their jobs and in their departments and with their budgets, that people weren't looking to be sold to. So we kind of had to shift our strategy a little bit. Instead of how do we convince people or how do we sell our value, is how do we be useful? How do we provide people with the information that they're looking for to help them make decisions in a very different time than we were in a few months ago? It's been less about repurposing budget dollars and more about reevaluating our strategy. What channels are we focusing on? Where can we repurpose budget? And then where can we get a little bit scrappy and find opportunities to execute marketing strategy at lower cost?
Yeah, that's great. I really think there's some good takeaways there for the listeners. All right, listen, we're going to go in a different direction. Voxpopme last year, as I recall, because I'm putting together a resource guide for the entire industry, and I want to have a shout out to Joshua and Marissa for helping me do that, and really came out special. But you were the 11th most innovative supplier in the world last year. I'm excited to see the 2020 list, but you were the 11th. What do you need to do to be the number 7th or 6th or 5th?
Ooh, that's an interesting question.
Other than having you and Carruthers bribe people for votes. But let's not go with that. Let's keep it clean, JV. Come on.
All right. Hey, you said it, not me.
Exactly.
We're gonna try not to bribe people. I think we were really happy with. Over the last 3 years, the growth on that list has been pretty rapid for us. And as a smaller startup company, to see that awareness and that recognition of being innovative, we've been really pleased. And we were really pleased with that position of number 11 last year. And I think it's really tough to break into the top 10. You look at the companies that are in the top 10, much larger than we are, or have been around a bit longer. And I think for us, we want to continue to serve our customers and develop our technology to serve our customers, which, our product and engineering team is the best I've ever seen, and really, really customer focused and trying to build technology that really speaks to our customer needs. And so that's really our focus is to continue to bring the technology and the value that our customers are looking for, and continue to improve their experience. So as much as, we want to continue to improve our position on the grid, and we want people to see us as innovative. At the end of the day, we're focused on improving our technology and our value to our customers, and that then in turn kind of changes or broadens the awareness of Voxpopme and what we do and how innovative we really are.
Some good stuff. Again, I really appreciate you commenting on that. And listen, I'm excited that you are 11, and I could see you easily breaking into the top 10, and not because it was ballot stuffing, but because it was well-deserved. All right, we're going to end with this. We're going to play another game. We're going to play a quick game. You ready?
Ready.
Word association.
Oh, God.
I'm going to say a word, and you tell me the first word that comes to mind. Fair?
Oh, I'm terrified. Yeah, fair.
You should be. Listen, you should be terrified with everything, because I didn't know what I was going to say. You don't know what I was going to say. So let's go with this. All right, word association, Voxpopme.
Agile.
Great. Marketing.
Oh. Can I say more than one word?
No, you can't. Well, okay, maybe I'll let you go 2 words. Come on, 2 words.
Oh, this is tough. Marketing expertise.
Okay, nice. Look at you, Dave Carruthers. Whoa.
Let's say innovator.
Okay. How about the insights industry?
Rapid transformation.
Let's go with mentor. The word mentor.
Oh, necessary.
Oh, I love that. That's a great word. Leadership.
See, I want to say a lot of things. I want to say a lot of words.
Okay, say because I'm getting nicer in my old age, say up to 4 words on that.
Up to 4 words. Leadership. Anyone can be a leader.
Well, that's 5 words, but okay, that's good. And the last one is this. You ready?
I don't know.
Jen Vogel.
Oh. Is that horrible? I can't think of anything.
Come on, give me one word. Give me one word. I mean, I figured you were going to go with like perfectionist.
No, I was going to say driven. I am driven.
No, but driven's a great word. Driven's a great word. Jen, I can't thank you enough for your time today. This is the On the Mark podcast. My name is Merrill Dubrow, and have a great day.